I met Ramona when I was a student. At that time, she had a strong physique, huge glasses, and skin problems. Ramona studied art and had a unique fashion sense that set her apart from others. Although her personality was admired, she did not always attract most men, including me. Despite the difference in specialization, she studied art, and I studied production technology. We had similar academic responsibilities. As a result, we signed up for computer graphics design courses together. She needed to take this course to get a diploma, and I needed it as a prerequisite for an auto KD. When we were assigned to work on a group project together, we realized that we had never really communicated, despite several common activities. Our differences were obvious from the very beginning. I was rather a loner who liked to run on the track and watch the popular crowd from afar. Ramona stayed on the margins of the avant-garde, beatniks and the artistic crowd, smoking and watching from the sidelines. Meanwhile, I was paying more attention to dating cheerleaders. She was often considered an obese friend and a second choice compared to stunning or promiscuous female artists. Despite our differences, we worked on the project together, which required us to spend a significant amount of time in each other's company. As befits human nature, I couldn't help but stare at her, and maybe she was doing the same thing. And then one evening our conversation went beyond the scope of the project and moved on to more personal topics. When my friend came to pick me up, I felt a note of sadness, leaving Ramona behind. It was obvious that she felt the same way. The next day in computer class, Ramona was distant and cold towards me. Confused, I asked her what was the matter. Through tears, she replied, "You're a fool." I took her by the hand and led her out of the laboratory to prevent a possible scandal. We found a quiet place in the park across the street and sat on a bench. I told her to stay put, and I went to get drinks, a soda for myself and her favorite juice from a nearby cart. With the drinks in our hands, we were able to talk calmly and without interference about what was bothering us. I couldn't help but smile and ask why I was called a fool. She simply replied, wiping away tears, "Because that's the way you are. You may not have an artistic soul, but I thought you were unique. While we were having fun, I couldn't help but think about our connection. But you ruined it with this woman," she complained. "Are you upset that I went on a date?" I asked, taken aback. "No way," she snapped. "It's just that you're all the same. You don't want a real relationship with a woman who really cares about you and loves you," Ramona said. "You only want intimacy with an unintelligent girl with big breasts," Ramona said. "Well, women with big breasts are smart enough to use their advantages in dating, relationships, and intimate contacts," I replied calmly. "What do you mean?" she asked skeptically. "Such women are great at communicating. By their actions, they make it clear that they are interested in a man," I replied sharply. Ramona sat in silence, clenching her fists and fuming. I could practically see the steam rising from her ears, and I realized that I had to relieve the tension between us. Without hesitation, I reached out, took off her huge glasses, which interfered with our connection, and bent down for a kiss. It wasn't just a quick kiss, but a deep and passionate embrace. I didn't know that this was her first kiss with a man. The first kiss was just the beginning of something even more incredible, when she allowed herself to relax and enjoy our passion. I hugged her, pulled her to me, and we shared a long kiss on a park bench. In the weeks that followed, our lives turned into a whirlwind of excitement. We have successfully completed our project, received an excellent grade, and started a romantic relationship. Ramona made some changes, switched to contact lenses, visited a dermatologist, and updated her wardrobe, switching to a more traditional style. I never forced Ramona to give up the bohemian style, but when we started spending more time together, she felt the need to expand her wardrobe. Being such a supportive partner, I accompanied her on shopping trips and expressed my opinion when she asked about it. I noticed that many people, including artists, wear jeans, but she expressed uncertainty about her size. I reassured her by telling her that I appreciated her curves and that some men found a well-built figure attractive. I even thought of the artist Rubens and his love of voluptuous models to strengthen her self-confidence. As a result, she bought jeans and looked amazing in them. I told her that her tops and sweatshirts didn't complement the jeans and skirts she was wearing, but she accused me of just wanting to stare at her breasts. Then I would remind her that they were still mine, and she was just wearing them for my pleasure. Being close to Ramona was like a magical experience with a princess from a fairy tale. Maybe it wasn't wildly passionate, but it was still incredibly special. As her first partner, I tried to make the experience fun and memorable for her, and over time she became more and more intrigued. I found myself craving more from her, even though we were never particularly adventurous in the bedroom. I was content with the little she was willing to give me, simply because my love for her was so strong. But a few weeks later, she stood in front of a mirror and compared herself to the type of woman she despised, a busty beauty. I assured her that she might look like her, but to me, she was my favorite girl. Despite her insecurities, we were incredibly happy together and eventually decided to get engaged after graduating from university. I continued my career at a car design firm, and Ramona found success making layouts for an art magazine. My family adored her, and our future seemed bright. Ramona's mom and sister were her only family, so I welcomed them with open arms. But they weren't particularly dear to me. At our engagement party, I heard her sister snidely remark that I didn't fit her artistic vision, implying that I was too normal for Ramona. Despite the fact that Ramona's mom looked radiant and joyful, she expressed doubts to her sister about our marriage, suggesting that it would take place only because Ramona was pregnant and would not last long. Time has passed, and we have refuted their doubts. Our love with Ramona grew stronger and stronger, and we were full of happiness. But at the celebration of our 7th wedding anniversary, her mother started talking about how it was time for us to become a grandmother. Ramona and I were her only hope for grandchildren, since her sister couldn't have children. "We're doing our best, Mom," Ramona quickly assured. "Despite all our many years of efforts, we have not been able to start a family." "Don't worry, I've made an appointment for both of you," Ramona's mother, Maddie, said. Maddie decided to take the initiative and enroll us in a fertility clinic. I got to the appointment before Ramona, and it made me think that Maddie suspected that the problem lay with me. Despite this, I passed the tests and everything turned out to be fine. When Maddie found out the results, she jokingly offered to continue the course until we finished working so that she could become a young grandmother. But Ramona's test results painted a different picture, forever changing our lives. We found that Ramona had a lot of problems with her reproductive system, which made it unlikely that we would have children. Despite the difficulties, I comforted her when she cried in her sleep that night and assured her that we could consider other options, such as adoption or fertility treatment. At that moment, I couldn't help but feel resentful of her mother for contributing to our difficulties. Through tears, Ramona said that I could file for divorce if I wanted to. "I will never leave you, Mona, unless you push me away yourself. No matter what, I will never betray you. You are everything to me," I said. When she asked why I wanted to stay with a woman who would never be able to have children and who everyone considered obese, I looked up at her and replied, "Because my love for you is stronger than anything in the world, and I can't bear the thought of living without you." I think she started to relax and eventually fell asleep. Looking back, I remember those days in a haze, and some details elude me. It took several days before we contacted the clinic and made an appointment. Sitting in the doctor's office, we became worried when she said that Ramona needed to be sent for tests to a specialist. Our shock increased when we were informed that Ramona is in the early stages of a very aggressive form of cancer. Suddenly, everything began to make sense. At the age of 25, Ramona constantly felt tired for no apparent reason. This led to periodic soreness of the body, frequent irritability, and mood swings, which bothered me a lot. Fortunately, we discovered her illness at an early stage, which increased the chances of survival. Ramona was sent to a specialized cancer center, where an appointment was scheduled for the next day. Ramona underwent a series of extensive and invasive tests to determine the severity of the disease. I devoted all my time to being by her side throughout her medical journey. Whether it was sitting with her in the ward, supporting her during the tests, or celebrating every result, I was there for her every step of the way. Ramona underwent surgery to remove lymph nodes and began radiation therapy in the following weeks. I lived in the family room at the cancer center so that I could always be there to comfort her. I met her every morning, stayed by her side all day, and even had the honor of spending the night with her until she fell asleep. Her mother and sister visited us occasionally, but their attitude towards me was always cool. I felt their confidence that I was somehow to blame for Ramona's cancer. Radiation therapy proved ineffective and damaged healthy tissues along with the tumor, so we decided to switch to chemotherapy. Ramona's body was severely weakened after radiation exposure, which caused her to lose about 40 kilograms. The upcoming chemotherapy will most likely also lead to hair loss. Despite all the difficulties, the nurses at the hospital have always been kind and supportive to me. The nurses constantly helped me with Ramona's assignments, demonstrating exceptional dedication to their work. Among them, one nurse stood out as a real blessing. Kelly, a stunning woman with bright red hair and green eyes, exuded grace and charm. Her tall, slender figure only added to her attractiveness. Every morning, she greeted me with a smile or a joke, brightening up my day from the moment I arrived. And when it was difficult for me to keep a positive attitude, Kelly was always there, comfortingly hugging or supporting me by the shoulders, ensuring that I would stay strong for Ramona. Most of the nurses in the oncology department worked on a schedule consisting of 4 10-hour shifts, followed by 3 days off. Among them was Kelly, who worked the night shift from 10 at night to 8 in the morning. I often saw her when I left Ramona's in the evening, and again when I returned at 6 in the morning the next day. Kelly always looked cheerful, especially in my presence. The only time I saw her upset was during a conversation with Ramona's mother, Maddie. Maddie made an offensive remark, hinting that I could leave her daughter when she was ill. Kelly brutally besieged Ramona's mother in defense of my honor. "This place is completely depressing," Maddie muttered. "Most of our patients almost never receive visitors. Their loved ones keep their distance, either out of fear of getting infected or because they can't bear to see them in such a state." But Ramona's husband never left her side. He was the one who comforted her when she was unwell, held the bucket she vomited into, and cleaned up after her, Kelly said with feeling. "Have you been here all this time? Even when she needed help to go to the bathroom?" asked Maddie incredulously. "He accompanies her to the bathroom and helps her. He was by her side from the very beginning when her hair started to fall out. As a sign of solidarity, he shaved his head to match her," Kelly recounted incessantly. She giggled at the memory of my shiny scalp. "Were you present at this?" Ramona's mother asked irritably. "He sponged her gently so she could maintain her dignity by taking care of herself and not relying on others," Kelly explained for me. "Were you really here?" Maddie asked again, not believing a word Kelly said. "He devoted all his free time, including vacation and sick leave, to caring for her," Kelly added. "Your daughter's treatment is not covered by medical insurance, so he got into big debts. And yet he was by her side every day. He held her hand and reminded her that she was loved unconditionally," Kelly said irritably. "The next words you say about him will decide if you're allowed to return to this floor, so choose wisely," Kelly warned, pointing a stern finger at Maddie. "I wish I could see his dedication firsthand," Maddie said. Later, when I was informed about this incident, a small smile appeared on my face, but it was important to me that Ramona felt better. Several nurses expressed their displeasure with Maddie's actions, but I couldn't help but notice that Maddie seemed to soften towards me after this incident. She even gave me a comforting pat on the shoulder when I was sitting next to Ramona while she was resting. The chemotherapy took effect on Ramona, and she weakened, but fortunately she got rid of the cancer. Ramona's hair started to grow back, and we developed a new nutrition plan to help her regain her strength. She then underwent several plastic surgeries to get rid of excess skin accumulated as a result of weight loss. Ramona appeared to us transformed, 40 pounds lighter, with clean skin, wearing contact lenses instead of glasses, and with restored hair. Her appearance had changed so radically that everyone who knew her had to make a double attempt. She might not have the wild beauty Kelly had, but Ramona was undoubtedly a new woman. She gave her all to become the best Ramona she could be, and I continued to love her with all my heart. I returned to my job and worked longer hours to cover the rising medical bills. Ramona couldn't get back to work for a while. Our intimate life has always been intense, even before marriage. But it got even more intense when Ramona tried to show me how grateful she was for my constant support during her illness. While I was busy at work, Ramona often went outside, a rare occurrence for an introvert like her. It was as if she was looking for confirmation from the outside world, a need that arose after her battle with cancer. Naively, I considered this a phase, not understanding how it affects our marriage. Slowly but steadily, Ramona started coming home later every evening, and this pattern seemed to be leading us down a dark path. Sometimes Ramona looked drunk. "I've never had so much fun," she said with a smile. It made me feel conflicted. I worked long hours to cover her medical expenses, and she had fun without me. Her clothes became more revealing than before. When I asked her about it, Ramona explained that she wanted to flaunt her newfound body. She insisted that it was all just for fun. But I couldn't help but wonder when she felt the need to show herself to others, not just me. I've been thinking about our marriage all week. A nagging anxiety gnawed at me, but I couldn't bring myself to resist it. Ramona was the whole world to me, especially after everything we went through together when she was fighting cancer. After these trials, our bond became even stronger, and I spent all my time and energy trying to ease Ramona's medical expenses, still not fully realizing the fruits of my labor. My hard work attracted the attention of the company's owners, which led to a significant salary increase, raise, and bonus. After receiving the extra money, I planned a vacation for my wife and me. Instead of immediately sharing the good news with Ramona, I decided to arrange a family surprise for her upcoming birthday. Perhaps a vacation together will help us reconnect and strengthen our relationship. The events of the following days broke my heart and eventually led to the breakup of our marriage. Ramona went to the hospital for a routine checkup to make sure that the cancer was not progressing. After passing the tests, she was informed that she would be contacted and the results would be reported. When Ramona was leaving, she suddenly crossed paths with Kelly. Ramona had always disliked Kelly because she thought she was beautiful, but she still saw herself as an overweight girl. Despite her recent weight loss, Ramona couldn't help but feel inferior standing next to Kelly. "Hi, Ramona," Kelly greeted. "It's weird to see you here without your husband," Kelly said. "Oh, but I'm not without him," Ramona replied. "He's just at work." "Why are you asking about him?" Ramona asked. "I didn't mean anything by it. You're just lucky to have someone who loves you so much. Most guys just want to have fun and move on. If only someone would look at me the way your husband looks at you," Kelly said. Kelly had just started to speak when she was abruptly interrupted. "Yes, it doesn't matter," Ramona said dismissively. She knew I'd be busy working all day and she couldn't wait to get back to having fun. With these thoughts, Ramona returned to the bar where she had visited the previous evening. Ramona decided she could have a quick drink and get home before I arrived. As soon as she crossed the threshold of the bar, she was unexpectedly hugged tightly. "My God, how many years have we not seen each other, Ramona?" Ramona met an old college friend, Kathleen Kinston, who immediately noticed her weight loss. "What have you been doing to yourself lately? You've lost a lot of weight. I almost didn't recognize you," Kathleen exclaimed. "How is your husband?" she asked. "Hi, Kat," Ramona replied. "I'm just walking and having fun." While they were chatting, a group of guys joined them at the table. Soon, one of the guys invited Ramona to dance, and she was so carried away by this moment that she did not even notice how the door opened. Kelly's appearance at the bar attracted the attention of all the men present, but Ramona was too engrossed in the dance to pay attention to her. Kelly noticed her and drew attention to her actions and the company. After ordering a sandwich from the grill, Kelly returned to work with a newfound inspiration. In the days that followed, I worked hard, but at the same time I found time to organize a surprise party for Ramona. I invited Ramona's mom, sister, and several close friends. I bought several gifts for her, hoping that this meeting and trip would help revive the romantic relationship between us. To my delight, my mother-in-law offered to help me decorate the apartment for this event. During Ramona's stay in the hospital, our bond became even stronger, and although she may not have adored me, she understood and appreciated my affection for her daughter. In the days that followed, I began to notice a recurring trend. Our intimate life has deteriorated significantly, turning into a shadow of a former renaissance. I could hardly remember the last time we had intimacy. It seemed that women felt my pent-up desire, constantly demanding attention. One evening, when I was returning home from work, the phone rang. "Hi, Brad, this is Kelly," said the voice on the other end. "Hi, Kelly, is there any news about Ramona's test results?" I asked. "Not before tomorrow, but I need to discuss something important with you," she replied. "Could you meet me at the nearest park? It won't take long," Kelly said. "How about the one in front of the hospital?" I suggested. Kelly thought about the idea and eventually agreed. "I can be there in 20 minutes if you don't mind," I said. "I'll see you there," Kelly replied. I thought the park would be a good place to meet, as Kelly and I visited it several times during Ramona's stay in the hospital to support her. We had impromptu dinners there more than once, while Ramona was undergoing procedures that I couldn't attend. Here she informed me that chemotherapy is helping, and Ramona is on the mend, so we have a lot of happy memories associated with this place. I sat down on a small park bench next to Kelly, smiled at her and asked, "Has something happened? I hope Ramona is not ill again?" Kelly replied, "Yes, she got sick again, but it's not cancer." As we sat, Kelly told me about the places where she had recently noticed my wife. Kelly told me about what she witnessed and her actions. She even described in detail some of the men she had seen Ramona with. "I don't have any proof, but it's obvious that she's cheating on you," she said. "Kelly, you're a wonderful nurse, and until now I thought you were an amazing person too. But Ramona would never betray me," I insisted, although deep down I could hardly believe my words. "I don't want to upset you, but you really need to be on your guard." "I can't bear the thought of her hurting you," Kelly warned. "I don't think she's up to anything. You're just jumping to conclusions without any evidence," I objected. "Maybe you'd better not interfere," I added, getting up to leave. But Kelly stopped me by grabbing my arm. She reached out and gently touched my cheek, causing me to freeze in place for some unknown reason. When Kelly lowered her voice, my anger gradually evaporated. "I hope I'm wrong," she said, her voice filled with concern. "It hurts me to see you suffer for someone who doesn't deserve you," Kelly added. She gently stroked my cheek, causing electric shocks to run through it. "I'll be there when you need a friend," she assured me. And before she left, she put a business card in my hand. I put the card in my pocket and watched Kelly walk away into the distance. It's been a long time since Ramona and I were close. I was as hard as a steel rod staring after Kelly. I couldn't believe what she was saying, but deep down I knew it was true. If I find out too late, it will hurt me a lot. A few small shocks are better than one big, devastating blow. I was devoted to Ramona, visited her in the hospital every day and took care of her. But as she recovered, she began to take me for granted, treated me as a servant, and not as a devoted husband who selflessly sacrificed a lot to be by her side. Kelly's words made me think about my future relationship with Ramona. 2 evenings later, when I returned home, I felt anticipation building inside me. This intimate encounter was supposed to rekindle the spark of romance in my relationship with Ramona. In recent days, I have been following the dynamics of our relationship more closely, and noticed that she is increasingly moving away from me and drinking excessively. When I fell asleep, she still hadn't returned. Ramona returned home when I was already asleep. In the morning, I hugged her and kissed the top of her head. Ramona smiled and rolled over on her back when I told her I was planning something special for her birthday. I knew she'd probably had a few drinks and was having fun, but this is Ramona, after all. When we first met, she was against parties. Now she just wanted to experience something that fat Ramona had never experienced. She also celebrated her success in fighting cancer. I wanted her to celebrate with me, but maybe I was just being selfish. Maddie arrived at 6:30 with her youngest daughter, Ravenna, and they wasted no time decorating the house, anticipating the arrival of guests. Since there were only 6 people invited, I wanted to make the party cozy, with a few close friends. By 9 o'clock in the evening, the guests were already wondering about the missing Ramona, and some decided to leave their gifts and go home. By 11 o'clock in the evening, only Maddie, Ravenna, and I were left at the party. I dialed Ramona's cell phone number for the 4th time, trying to find out her location. Finally, half an hour later, she answered my call. "Hi, darling, I'll be home soon," Ramona stammered in a drunken and breathless voice. "Where are you?" I asked. Ramona explained that her mother invited her for a drink, and she decided to go with her rather than return home. "We lost track of time," she admitted. "I ended up going with her and my sister, who doesn't really approve of you anyway," she added. "I didn't want their negative attitude to spoil the surprise you had prepared for me," she said. A man's voice could be heard in the background, urging her to hurry back so they could have fun. "Anyway, I'll see you soon and you can surprise me," she added. "Will it be a big surprise?" "What kind?" she asked. "Sort of," I replied quietly. There was a moment of silence before Maddie looked at me and noticed that I was struggling to hold back tears. I was at a loss. My whole world seemed to collapse before my eyes, and I didn't know how to react. Maddie intervened, saying that my initial judgment about Ramona was wrong. Ravenna, in turn, laughed at Maddie's words, accusing her of insensitivity. Despite the tension, I thanked them for coming and assured them that they could stay here as long as they needed. I promised to clean up and put away Ramona's gifts, hoping that she would return soon. "But I don't think you should stay here when Ramona gets home," I said after a moment's thought. "Why not?" asked Ravenna. "As her caring sister, I want to see her reaction when she arrives and faces the consequences of her deception," Ravenna added, laughing. "She went through a hard battle with cancer. We may never fully understand the extent of her suffering. All we can do is support her and remain optimistic," I explained gently. Maddie and Ravenna exchanged disapproving glances and left the room, and I immediately went to the closet and began to collect my clothes and personal belongings. I packed my things quickly and efficiently and left a note for Ramona on the kitchen table before heading out. I tried to take as many things with me as possible so that I wouldn't have to come back anytime soon. The next day, while at work, I started looking for divorce lawyers. I came across several ads on the internet, but did not dare to make a single call. Communication with others was minimal, as I was focused on the upcoming decision. All my colleagues thought I was fighting a cold or the flu when I was doing my daily chores. Ramona tried to call me several times and left messages, but I ignored them. This went on for 3 days. I worked, went back to my motel room, slept, and repeated everything over again. On the 3rd day, Kelly caught me leaving the building and sat on the hood of my car looking like she was about to cry. I was puzzled by her emotions. "Why didn't you call me?" she demanded. I was silent and looked at her, watching the emotional barrier I had erected crumble. Tears flowed down my face as I admitted, "Everything you said was true." Kelly got off the hood of the car and hugged me, but I couldn't help but notice the inappropriate surge of desire as her body pressed against mine. "I never wanted to hurt you. If you find the strength in your heart to forgive me," she whispered. Ramona looked around her cluttered apartment, her head throbbing with pain. "What kind of day is it today?" she muttered to herself. It would be better if Brad cleaned up here when he finally gets home. Where is he anyway? At that moment, there was a knock on the door. Groaning, she got up from the couch and, undressed, went to the door to look through the peephole. It was her mother. Hastily grabbing a robe, Ramona opened the door. "Sorry about the mess, Mom," she sighed. "My husband always disappears when it's time to clean up." "Ramona, where have you been and what have you been doing?" the mother asked in disbelief. "Or, judging by your appearance, who were you doing obscenities with?" Maddie asked in horror. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Ramona asked irritably. "Ramona, why do you have kiss marks on your neck?" asked Maddie. "Damn, it's better that Brad doesn't see this. Mom, bring me coffee, my head is splitting," Ramona said, wrapping her robe more tightly around herself. Reluctantly, Maddie went into the kitchen and started making coffee. "And how did you manage to hide your lies that night?" Maddie asked, her tone disapproving. "What kind of lie, Mom?" Ramona asked innocently. "That lie you told your husband on your birthday, when you said you were with me and my sister, even though we were next to him," Maddie clarified. Ramona's eyes widened in realization. "I need to come up with a plausible explanation before he comes back," Ramona muttered with a sense of urgency in her voice. "Mom, I need your help to come up with a plan," Ramona pleaded. "Why should I do this?" Maddie asked. "I know I've made a few mistakes, but it was all just for fun. I wanted to experience something that I couldn't do when I was younger," Ramona admitted. Tears welled up in her eyes as she continued. "I've always been an obese friend. I've never been the one you wanted. But then I met Brad, and everything changed." My self-confidence increased. I began to dress better, and suddenly my husband began to consider me an attractive girl. Having lost weight, I began to catch the eyes of more guys on me, and it refreshed me. Now I can flirt with them a little bit and easily turn them off whenever I want. It gives me the opportunity to choose, and I like it. But don't worry, Mom. I will never leave Brad because my love for him is real," Ramona said. "I was just having fun. And didn't you say he was just an ordinary, boring guy? And Brad won't even know about it. He's always working anyway, help me, Mom. And he also needs to start paying attention to me, otherwise he will lose me. For example, he should be home by now." Ramona chattered nervously and laughed, trying to find an excuse for herself. "Maybe it's true," Maddie said softly. She walked over to Ramona and handed her the note she had found in the kitchen. "Dear Ramona, I'm glad to see how happy you are. After all the difficulties you faced, you really deserve this happiness. Defeating cancer is not a small feat, but you fought bravely and emerged victorious. You didn't just win, you completely destroyed it. You came out of this battle strong and even more beautiful than before. I always knew you were special and I fell deeply in love with you. Now you have the self-confidence to show the whole world how wonderful you are and what a big heart you have. You deserve all the love and admiration that comes to you. Now I understand that there is no place for me in your life anymore. In my life and in my heart, you captivated me a long time ago and deserve to continue your journey. I hope that you will receive this message and contact me so that we can discuss our future, or lack thereof. If I don't get an answer from you, unfortunately, I will assume the worst and start the divorce process so that you can find freedom. You can take the apartment because I can't bear to return to this place filled with memories of our past. I can only hope that the man who appears in your life next will be more worthy of you than me. I gave my all. I did everything in my power to make you happy. Obviously, I failed at something and you deserve better. My love for you will always remain. Your Brad." Ramona read the letter and fell to the floor in tears. Maddie looked at her daughter and couldn't shake the feeling that she had raised a fool. Kelly drove me to her house and opened the car door for me. She reached out and gently pulled on my lifeless limbs to help me out of the car. After taking me to the front door, Kelly led me inside and sat me down on the couch. Kelly started talking to me, but she noticed my pain. It was clear that I had finally reached a tipping point. Despite my condition, Kelly comforted me and talked about my inner strength. Kelly swore that she would help me cope with the pain and overcome all the inner demons. Leaving me on the couch, Kelly went to change into more comfortable clothes, choosing shorts and a t-shirt. She made a steak and salad dinner for the two of us. While enjoying the meal, Kelly noticed me absently moving my fork around my plate. All I could think about was that Kelly was right. I should have listened to her right away, but I had a glimmer of hope that Ramona would never betray me. We didn't say a word to each other at dinner. After dinner, Kelly turned off my cell phone, making sure that no messages were coming to it. Kelly immediately notified the hospital of her impending absence for personal reasons, urging me to do the same. Despite my reluctance to miss work due to financial obligations, Kelly was adamant that I follow her example and not go to work. I called work and took 2 days off, citing illness. Kelly, like a caring wife, brought me a blanket and gently laid me on the couch. She hugged me like a child and kissed me lovingly on the forehead. "If you need me, I'll be upstairs in the bedroom," she assured. Meanwhile, Ramona was desperately trying to reach Brad by calling his cell phone 20 times. Disappointed, she thought, "Pick up the phone. Where can you be?" She needed to talk to him, explain everything. The thought of divorce was unbearable for her. Brad was her rock, her anchor, and she couldn't imagine life without him. Yes, Ramona had been completely oblivious to her husband for the past few weeks. But all this was insignificant compared to her marriage. Her relationship with Brad was everything to her. He was the only person who truly cherished and appreciated her, even in those moments when she felt unworthy. Brad was by her side, supporting her in her fight against cancer. Together they fought and defeated the disease. His unwavering love and devotion never wavered, giving her the strength to fight hard. Ramona remembers countless silly and sweet moments they had together, including the day he entered her life and changed it forever. Ramona couldn't believe her own stupidity. Knowing that he was working hard to cover her medical expenses, she called him again. She even went so far as to call him at work and find out that he had taken a few days off. His boss informed her that Brad had been promoted and had a new office number in another department. Ramona realized with a sinking heart that she had missed such an important milestone in Brad's career. Reflecting on the delay in Brad's return, she came to the conclusion that his return home might not be what she expected. It seemed to her that he was just sulking and holding a grudge. She thought that a simple phone call inviting him back would easily dispel his disappointment. A heart-to-heart conversation, followed by intimacy, will undoubtedly smooth over the situation. Ramona was ready to devote the rest of her life to rebuilding their relationship. After reflecting on her recent actions, she admitted that her reckless behavior was not worth jeopardizing her relationship with Brad. She had started out so confidently, but now she realized the seriousness of her mistakes. How did she turn into one of those stupid girls she despised in college? Ramona just wanted to have fun and treat herself a little. But now she realized that not everything is in her hands, as she thought. These strange men gave a false sense of power in exchange for something that should have belonged only to Brad. There was no sincere affection, only empty, intoxicated meetings. Now she could only wonder how much Brad knew and what she needed to apologize for. Ramona will always bear the burden of this mistake. She turned into the very woman she despised. Kelly helped me methodically and carefully. First, we packed my things at the hotel. Then she went with me to the store for basic necessities. At her insistence, my things were moved to the guest room in her house. At first, by limiting my communication, she gradually encouraged me to be open, until we began to communicate freely with each other. The only topic we avoided discussing was Ramona. When our 2-day break came to an end and we had to get back to work, Kelly handed me a cell phone. Under her gaze, I scrolled through my messages. Ramona called more than 100 times. I deleted them all without listening. My jaw clenched, anger bubbling inside me. When I returned to work, I felt better, although I still wasn't completely sane. Some of my colleagues have noticed that Kelly has been looking out for me lately. There was a lot of gossip surrounding this situation. "So, Brad, who was driving that red Mustang?" asked Dave. "There was a supermodel next to Brad," another colleague remarked. I grinned, but decided not to say anything. Kelly was undeniably stunning, surpassing even Ramona in physical beauty. But did I really believe it? But my mood soured very quickly when I was accused of cheating with a mysterious red-haired girl. Few people knew that Ramona was actually unfaithful. The guard sharply called out to me, urging me to hurry to the parking lot. Worried that my car had been vandalized, I was shocked by the chaos that awaited me. Screams pierced the air before I even got to the parking lot. "What the hell are you doing with my husband? You're just a family destroyer!" Ramona exclaimed angrily. Kelly answered just as loudly, "You abandoned him when you committed the act of disappearing." Ramona asked in confusion, "What are you talking about anyway?" "You started drinking and became a traitor," Kelly hissed back. The guards intervened to separate the women, but the crowd had already gathered to watch the drama. I walked over to Kelly without looking at Ramona. I took Kelly's hand and wearily got into the Mustang. In a low voice, I told Ramona to return to the house and assured her that I would follow her. Ordering the guards to detain Ramona for at least 10 minutes, I raced after Kelly. Glancing in the rearview mirror, I saw Ramona shouting after me. Despite my boundless love for her, I was overcome with anger. "Brad, we need to talk!" Ramona was screaming desperately. "We can fix everything. I can see that you care about me," she shouted after him. Unfortunately, she was right. I drove with tears in my eyes, torn between my love for Ramona and the pain of the situation. After a while, I was finally ready to talk at Kelly's house. "What's on your mind, Brad?" Kelly asked. "I need to understand what led to the breakup of my marriage," I replied. "Are you sure you want to know the truth?" Kelly asked. "Absolutely," I confirmed. "I'm not sure." Kelly hesitated and disappeared into her office. She returned with a bulky manila envelope and placed it on the table. "Everything you need is here, but I urge you not to open it," she warned. I remained standing and pondering over the contents of the mysterious envelope. "When I first came to you with information about her, you rightly pointed out that I had no proof. I saw what I saw, but just like when it happened to me, I didn't want to believe it. I knew that you would need concrete evidence, so I turned to a private investigator for help, who turned out to be my cousin and was obliged to me. He provided me with photos, audio recordings, receipts, and detailed reports, and all this confirmed my suspicions," Kelly said about the contents of the envelope. "If you still care about her, I don't advise you to watch this video. The evidence clearly shows that she betrayed her marriage vows. Watching it will only cause you more pain. After watching it, you won't be able to forget about it for a long time," Kelly said with pain in her voice. As Kelly talked, I began to realize the truth of her words. "I know it's going to be hard for you to break up with her, but you'll start to see things more clearly. This file can only remind you of the past, but do as you see fit," Kelly said. "And by the way, what should I cook for dinner?" Kelly asked, heading for the kitchen. I reached into the folder and pulled out the first photo, which showed Ramona lying on a table in a bar, her dress pulled up to her waist, and she was surrounded by at least 3 men. Until now, I thought that parting with Ramona was painful. But when I came across the photo, it was like I was punched in the stomach. It became difficult to concentrate. Even breathing became difficult. With trembling hands, I put the photo back in the folder and threw it away from me. Collapsing onto Kelly's couch, I closed my eyes, unable to contain the surging emotions. Sensing my suffering, Kelly sat down on the couch and hugged me comfortingly. We sat in silence all night, finding solace in each other's presence. The next morning, we both pretended to be sick, unable to look at the world around us. The next day, Kelly and I went to see a divorce lawyer she had heard about. "I will try to do this as quickly and painlessly as possible," said Sherry, my lawyer. "You have no children and almost no property. The only thing worth fighting for is her medical bills," she added. "I'll pay them," I said. "Why? You got into debt because of her. And how did she repay you? How did she behave? Kelly intervened. Well, I still love her, I replied. In any case, the divorce process should be easy, Sherry said. If she resists, we can just use the dossier as leverage and reveal her identity, Sherry suggested. The documents will be prepared within a few days, she added. As time passed, the situation deteriorated rapidly. Ramona was handed the papers, but instead of signing them, she tore them to shreds. She categorically refused to even look at them or seek legal help. Ramona strongly told Sherry that she strongly opposed the divorce and swore that the divorce would never take place. After much thought, Sherry proposed legal separation with the possibility of starting divorce proceedings without the consent of the spouses in a year. As part of this proposal, Ramona asked for a marriage counselor and begged me to come home in an attempt to save our relationship. Sherry warned that she would change the grounds for divorce to infidelity, which could tarnish Ramona's reputation by leaking evidence. Ramona ridiculed Sherry's threat and demanded that she come up with a better reason. I will do everything to prevent this from happening. If you have to go to Rome to tell the Pope that I'm a traitor, I'll be happy to buy you a plane ticket. But I won't let anyone, especially you or that redhead, take a man away from me without a fight, Ramona said. She categorically refused to consider any other offers until she talked to me. She's ruthless, Sherry confessed to me later. If I were you, I would come to the meeting, she advised. Refusing to talk to her would reflect badly in court, Sherry said. 2 days later, I was sitting in Sherry's office right across from Ramona. Why are you dragging us into this? Ramona asked. It's all your fault, I replied calmly. Maybe I got carried away, drank too much, and neglected you. I know you have every right to be angry, but that doesn't justify putting out of mind the 10 years we spent together, Ramona said bitterly. Seriously, I love you, Brad. You have to believe me, Ramona said. You forgot that you lied to me, deceived me, and broke my heart. You've done a lot of things that I never thought you were capable of. You didn't consider my feelings at all, Ramona. Everything was just for you, and to make you feel good, I said coldly. But Brad, I had cancer. You don't know what it is, she said sadly. And after I went through it, I just wanted to take the time to sort things out. After I overcame something like this, my priorities and views changed, Ramona explained. Ramona, I understand what you're getting at, but you're wrong. Now you have all the time in the world to discover and experience whatever your heart desires. I won't interfere anymore. You can do whatever you want. You can be with as many people as you want. You can entertain crowds of men every night and no one will judge you, I said. With that, I got up and left. Ramona screamed at my back, forcing me to turn around. Brad, you can't just leave me like that. What do you mean I'm wrong? She asked angrily. I turned and stared at Ramona for a long time, filled with pain and disappointment. Ramona, you didn't have cancer, I said solemnly. What? She started, but I raised my hand to stop her. We had cancer, I confessed, and tears welled up in my eyes. I was by your side every day in the hospital, but it was harder for me. You felt pain, but they gave you medicine to ease it, I began. I had to watch how the woman I loved, whom I valued more than anything in the world, was crushed by the disease and could not intervene in any way. I would trade places with you if I could just to ease your pain a little bit. I didn't leave your side a single step, although I had the opportunity. I had to put on a cheerful face to cheer you up, although when I left for the night, I was slowly dying in the shower, I said. I would come home and cry for hours on end. I was afraid that I would lose you and not be able to spend the rest of our lives together. Every morning, I had to force myself to smile and act confident, even though everything was crumbling inside me. But now that everything is said and done, I understand that I'm ready to start learning about life and enjoying it, I said, and fell silent, looking at her, and Ramona stared at her feet. The only problem is that the woman I wanted to spend my whole life with is now drinking and dating other men. Not the husband who went through all this with her, I said bitterly. I had to work hard to pay all your medical bills. Now you have the opportunity to start your life anew, with a new body and prospects, and I am left with a huge debt. Your priorities have changed and you betrayed me. You may have a different outlook on life now, but you probably didn't realize how much pain you caused me. Do you study life while my heart is broken and then tell me that you really love me? I asked with disdain. How do you think I'll react when I find out about all the men you've had intimate relationships with? I'm sure they're all great guys, Ramona. But where were they when you were fighting for your life in the hospital? Cancer may not have taken your life, but its effects destroyed our marriage. Maybe it's not the disease, but you. Just sign the divorce papers, Ramona. I have nothing more to say to you, I finished in a decisive tone. I left the room, leaving Ramona alone, sitting in an armchair with tears in her eyes. Meanwhile, Kelly was patiently waiting for me outside the lawyer's office, noting what a difficult meeting I had just gone through. Kelly saw that I was upset and didn't want to burden me with her presence once again. I didn't feel well and didn't want to discuss anything. As we headed for the Mustang, Kelly handed me the keys. My face lit up with joy as I climbed into the driver's seat of my beloved car. The SVT Cobra, also known as the Terminator, has long held the title of the fastest production Mustang. Take us home, Kelly said with a smile directed at me. In the end, your divorce will be finalized, regardless of whether she signs the papers or not, Kelly added. Can we just go for a little ride? I asked. No, you're in pain right now and I need to feed you, but we will definitely devote the rest of our lives to traveling, Kelly said happily. I parked the car in front of Kelly's house and we both went inside. Pausing for a moment, I looked back at my car, tempted to take it for another ride. Kelly didn't wait for me and went into the house. As I watched her disappear into the house, I noticed how she casually threw her coat on the floor. As I watched her head for the stairs, I couldn't help but notice how she took off her blouse as she walked into her bedroom upstairs. With a smile on her lips, Kelly started up the stairs. When she reached the first step, she took off her shoes one by one. Halfway there, she took off her tights and, carefully throwing them over her finger, motioned for me to follow her. Continuing slowly up the stairs, she reached the top and casually took off her skirt, leaving it behind, and then moved on. Her pure white skin was on display, and I realized that I was still alive after weeks of being numb. With a sense of urgency, I went up the stairs, hurriedly picking up her discarded clothes along the way, not really understanding why I was doing this. When I got to the top of the stairs, I found that Kelly was still there. She hadn't left yet. She was waiting for me, so graceful and beautiful that it took my breath away. Kelly reached behind her back and unbuttoned her bra, allowing her breasts to sway freely. I was mesmerized by her beauty. It was difficult for me to catch my breath and concentrate. Come and get me, Kelly whispered, walking slowly down the hallway. At that moment, I suddenly realized that I understood the words of George Clinton's iconic song, Atomic Dog. Why should I be ashamed of my desires? I thought to myself. I followed Kelly down the hall to her bedroom. There, I found her waiting impatiently on the bed. Kelly came up to me and slowly began to take off my clothes. The pile of discarded clothes continued to grow, bringing us closer to a connection beyond intimacy. I tried to talk to Kelly, but she silenced me by snapping her finger. Ramona was gentle and passive in bed, but Kelly was a completely different woman, indomitable and unpredictable. She was completely engrossed in what was happening, using her body to express her desire to belong only to me whenever I wished, and for as long as I wished. Together we explored all possible fantasies, leaving no stone unturned. And in the end, Kelly's insatiable appetite was satisfied. Kelly turned my attention from Ramona and the past to myself and the future. We were lying in bed, hugging each other tightly. Kelly began to remember her life. After her first husband cheated on her, she realized that some men are capable of betraying even a beautiful woman like her. Kelly vividly recalled the hurtful words he uttered when she caught him for the third and last time. No matter how beautifully a woman is dressed, after a while she becomes stale, and you need to find a new one. This phrase became a turning point for Kelly, prompting her to leave her ex-husband without hesitation. For years, Kelly had dreamed of someone loving her and making her feel special. She believed that she had found such a person in me because I treated her with such care and tenderness. When my marriage broke up, she felt happy, because now I could belong only to her. Kelly was determined to give me the love and respect I deserved for the rest of my life. But weeks passed, and Ramona still hadn't signed the divorce papers. It became clear that she did not intend to do this. She even hired a detective to follow me and catch me with Kelly, hoping to use this as leverage in the divorce case. Ramona believed that if my divorce petition was rejected, then we would finally find ourselves on equal terms. She was driven by a thirst for revenge. She longed for us to be reunited, as it should have been from the very beginning. But she was afraid that this process might take too long, because she missed me terribly and felt bad. No one seemed to care about her well-being anymore. Ramona dreamed of the day when I would come home, hug her, make love to her, and take care of her again. One day, while walking, Ramona accidentally noticed Kelly and me in a restaurant. Watching us through the window, she saw Kelly lean across the table and gently touch my cheek. In response, I took her hand, turned it towards me, and kissed it. I wanted to hurt her the same way she hurt me. It was hard for Ramona to look at this display of affection, because everything was not happening at all as she had imagined. I was crazy about Kelly, and I didn't try to hide it. Ramona finally realized what she had lost and lost her temper. She stormed into the restaurant, yelling at Kelly. "Stay away from my husband, you worthless woman!" shouted Ramona. "You messed up and lost him," Kelly countered. "No, I didn't want that. I was just having fun. I never wanted him to leave me. You're not getting my husband," Ramona continued to scream. "I already got it and you lost it," Kelly replied. "If you had only signed these papers, he would already be my husband," Kelly said. Ramona's refusal was met with deafening screams. "No way in the world!" Ramona screamed, her anger palpable. There were death threats in the air, but as Ramona paled and tried to stay on her feet, the tension eased. Feeling dizzy, she collapsed to the floor, saying that she was not feeling well. Gathering her strength, she hurriedly left the restaurant. 3 months later, Kelly and I exchanged vows and became husband and wife. Ramona stayed true to her promise and refused to sign the divorce papers. When the cancer made itself felt again and she was back in the hospital, she was provided with excellent care, but she felt a deep sense of loneliness. Without a partner to support her during her illness, she began to lose the desire to live. During her stay in the hospital, Ramona often asked about me or wrote letters to me, begging me to forgive her and reconsider our relationship. She longed for my presence, or at least a simple visit. This time, the fight against cancer was not quick. The cancer was merciless. She died of the disease just a month later. Kelly and I honored her memory at the funeral, where I delivered a heartfelt eulogy, eloquently and tenderly talking about what a special person Ramona was and what love we shared throughout our time together. I decided to focus on the happy memories we shared, omitting any mention of our separation. When the service was over, I told the small group of relatives gathered there about my new bride and the life we had built together. Sometimes in the evenings, sitting in front of the fireplace or riding my Mustang, I couldn't help feeling that both Ramona and I had always lived a lie. Ramona claimed to have beaten cancer, and I readily accepted that belief. But the truth was that since she had left the hospital, she had changed beyond recognition. She had become noisy, angry, and full of bitterness that seemed to consume her completely. Ramona destroyed everything in her path, leaving behind the bitterness of loss. Our marriage, our relationship with me, all fell victim to the cancerous tumor that consumed her. In the end, Ramona went downhill, trying to take everyone with her, and I continued to love and tolerate her. Despite the chaos she left behind, Kelly and I were able to find happiness and live happily ever after.